Hi everyone, welcome to Pirkei Avot Insights. My name is Tali, Pfeiffer, and this week we will be learning Perek Gimmel of Pirkei Avot. We'll focus together on 4 Mishnayos, 1, 3, 9, and 16. Let's jump in and start with Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Akavya ben Mahalal Omer, Histakel b'shlosha dvarim, v'iyat haba lidei avira. Da me'ayin basa, ula'an ata holich, v'lifnei mi ata atir litin din v'chashbon. And then we go into each one. Me'ayin basa, mitipas rucha, ula'an ata holich, l'makom afar rima v'tolaya, v'lifnei mi ata atir litin din v'chashbon, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch. Akavya ben Mahalal said, mark well 3 things that you will make sure that you will not come into the power of sin. Know where you come from, where you are going, and before whom you are destined to give an account and reckoning. And then it goes into each one. From where do you come? From a putrid drought. Where are you going? To a place of dust, of worm and maggot. And before whom you are destined to give an account and reckoning, before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. Akavya ben Mahalal is trying to give us a healthy attitude to make sure that we could stay away from sin. Sin is the result of a distorted perspective, so he's trying to teach us how to counteract that. And he gives us 3 steps. Remember where you come from, remember where you are going to, and remember before whom you will give justification and reckoning. In a way, the Mishnah seems repetitive, because first it gives the 3 questions, and then it repeats each one with an answer. What's the point of that repetition? The Mili de Avos suggests that the first grouping is addressed to the soul, our neshama, while the second grouping with the answers is addressed to the body. So let's go through them. To the soul, the message, our neshama, the message is a positive one that's encouraging. It's like a cheerleader for us. Remember that your neshama comes from under the kisei hakavod, and therefore the goal is to retain its purity and to make sure that you don't taint it with sin. Remember that you're going to have to return your neshama to Hashem as spotless as you received it, and you could do it. And remember that your life is so important and so significant to Hashem that every move that you make will be reported to Him. So you should never think that your actions are not important in the grand scheme of things. And then, when we realize how great we are and how great our potential is, we can hopefully stop ourselves from sinning. The second part of the Mishnah, then, that actually goes through the answer to each question, gets a little bit more intense. It's focused on the body, and again, it takes this different, more harsh approach. It tells us that we come from a little drop. We can't be arrogant and can't think that we're above Hashem's laws. We're going to go to a place of dust, of worms, of maggots. The ultimate destination of a human body is the grave. A reminder to us that all physical pleasure is just a fleeting experience. There's no point in focusing too much on physical fulfillment or acquisitions when we realize how insignificant they'll be in the long run. And let us think about having to account for each of our deeds and each of our misdeeds in front of Hashem. Rabbeinu Yonah says that we should think about the retribution that we could expect for all the things that we do wrong and the embarrassment that we'll suffer, and use that as an impetus, as scary as that might be, for change. Now, practically, what does it mean that we will be required to give a din and a chashbon? Again, what's with all the repetition in this Mishnah? The Ruach Chaim, Rav Chaim of Volozhin, explains that din and chashbon are referring to 2 completely different things. Din is step 1. It refers to our transgressions, the actual things that we did wrong. But chashbon is taking it to the next level. Chashbon refers to the potential of the positive things that we could have done with the time that we instead chose to use to sin. How chaval. Right? Within each avera, there's the action of what we did wrong, plus the potential good that we missed out on by choosing bad instead of good. Every situation in life has potential for both bad or good. And it's up to us to do good instead of bad. Ubecharta b'chaim, choose life. Don't just sit there and do nothing. Don't do bad, but let's use the opportunities that we have to do good. Let's move on to Mishnah Gimmel. Mishnah Gimmel starts by saying the following. Rabbi Hanania ben Chajon Omer, Shnayim shiyoshven ve'in b'neihem divrei Torah, hari ze moshav leitim, shne'amar u'b'moshav leitim lo yashav. Aval shnayim shiyoshven ve'yish b'neihem divrei Torah, shchina shruya b'neihem, shne'amar az nedabru yerei Hashem, ish al ra'ehu, v'yakshiv Hashem, v'yishma v'yikativ sifer zikaron lefanav, li're'ei Hashem l'choshvei shema. Rav Hanania ben Chajon says, if there are two people who are sitting together and there's no words of Torah spoken between them, it's a session of scorners, a Moshav Leitzim. And quotes a pasuk from Tehillim to prove the point, and then says the opposite is true, that if two people are sitting together and there are words of Torah spoken between them, Divrei Torah beinayim, then the Shekhinah rests among them, and also brings a pasuk as proof, this time from Malachi. The next Mishnah, in Mishnah Daled, says a very similar idea about Divrei Torah, and is specifically talking about eating a meal at a table. If people are sitting together and there are no Divrei Torah amongst them, it's considered a Moshav Leitzim. Rav Hirsch asks a question about this. Could this really mean that if you're sitting with friends, just hanging around or eating a meal, and you're not quoting Divrei Torah, it's considered a Moshav Leitzim? Now, on a quick comical note, sometimes when people are sitting at a meal and no Dvar Torah was said, someone will point out and say, oh, we need a Dvar Torah at the meal, we can't bench yet, right? And there's always that one person who will shout, okay, I got it. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says that you need to have a Dvar Torah at every meal. Okay, we did it. We learned our Mishnah, we said our Dvar Torah, we're good to go. But seriously, back to our question, how are we to understand these Mishnayos? So Rav Hirsch explains that Divrei Torah doesn't only include the actual teachings contained in the Torah itself, quoting something that you read in a sefer, but as he writes, and I'll quote, also everything else that derives from the Torah for the fashioning of human affairs, as well as anything that is shaped in accordance with the Torah's teaching and is fulfilled in accordance with the spirit of God's law. It's not just referring to actual Divrei Torah, but it's about speaking in a way that a Ben or a Bas Torah should speak. It's about speaking about things that are important, things that are in line with Torah values, things that have meaning, and things basically that are not just Dvarim B'Telim, waste of time type of talk, and I think we all know what that means. Awesome. Moving on to our third Mishnah together, Mishnah Tes, Mishnah 9. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Hamahalach b'derech v'shona, u'mafsik mi'mishnaso, v'omer, ma na'a ilan zeh, u'ma na'a nir zeh, ma'ala alav akasav ki'ilu mischayev v'nafsho. Also really intense. Rabbi Shimon says that if one is studying while he's walking on the road, and he interrupts his study and says, wow, how beautiful is that tree, or how beautiful is that newly plowed field, that the Torah considers it as if he bears guilt for his soul, or he's mortally guilty. This Mishnah is really perplexing. Aren't we supposed to appreciate nature? Why does it seem like you're sinning against your soul if you just looked away and appreciated nature? Rav Hirsch says that if you look closely at the words, we see the answer clearly. The Mishnah says that he's learning, and then it says that he stopped learning, right? Mafsik mimishnaso. Why does it tell us that he stopped learning? Obviously, he stopped learning if he's going to appreciate the field or the tree. Rav Hirsch explains that the problem is that he's making a pause, a stop, between the learning and the nature. Appreciating nature should be a natural progression from our learning. It's from Hashem. It's not something separate from Hashem. The issue is that he's creating a separation between the two by stopping his learning. The goal instead needs to be to connect our Torah learning and our appreciating nature by viewing both as a means to connect to Hashem and to learn more about our Creator and God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Go out there, enjoy nature, but make sure that when doing so, you don't view it as a stop or a pause from your learning. It's all one and the same, or it's all one continuous journey. Let's move on to the last Mishnah that we'll be doing together, which is Mishnah Tazayin, 16. Rabbi Yishmael Omer, have kal rosh v'noach l'tishchoret v'have mekabel es kol ha'adam b'simcha. Rabbi Yishmael said, be yielding to a superior, pleasant to the young, and receive every man happily. I want to focus on the end of the Mishnah. What does it mean to greet everyone b'simcha? Don't we already know that from Perek Aleph, Mishnah Tesvav, when Shammai told us to greet every person b'sever panim yafos, with a cheerful face? Now, if we look back at that Mishnah, we are able to find our answer. The Meiri back in Perek Aleph, Mishnah Tesvav, says that the word savar, right, to greet everybody b'sever panim yafos, is related to svara, which means thought. Even if in one's heart he still bears negative feelings towards someone and is unable to truly receive him cheerfully, nonetheless, he should behave in a fashion that allows his friend to think that he's happy to see him. Meaning, even if you're not feeling it, fake that cheerful face so that the person who you're greeting at least feels like you are happy to see them. With that understanding, we could go back to our Mishnah in Perek Gimmel and gain a deeper insight. The Mishnah here pushes us to strive for an even higher level than it does in Perek Aleph. Don't just make people think that you're happy to see them, but actually be happy. Work hard on your inner feelings so that you could truly be in a place of simcha when you meet other people. Wow, so many important ideas to think about. Thank you so much for the opportunity to learn snippets of Perek Gimmel together. I hope these insights give you a greater appreciation for and understanding of Pirkei Avos Perek Gimmel. Stay tuned for Perek Daled next week.